Events.
Great. Well, I welcome everyone this evening. Thank you so much for joining us, the planning events for your chapter, your community, and more with Maria Ramos. Maria, I'm just going to toot her horn a little bit. She can give you all her credentials, but she is a very newly published author and best-selling author at that as of Friday. So we're very excited to have her with us. And Maria, I will turn this over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Shanda. Yes, I'm very excited. I actually just got my copy there. So Women Who Shine is the name of the book. I am a co-author with 29 other wonderful women. So if you are interested, there's some inspiring stories here. Amazon, just put in Women Who Shine with my name, Maria Ramos, and it will come up. So there's my little plug. But I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm here to share some helpful tips with you, as well as idea share with everybody. So just a little bit about me. I am a founding brother of Nu Sigma chapter at Roger Williams University up in Bristol, Rhode Island. I was initiated in 1995. So I have been with the fraternity for over 25 years. Last year, right before the pandemic started, I received my Silver Helmet Award. So yes, that was a very monumental moment in my career, my fraternity career. Some of you have seen me around at national events, and I also serve as the President's Academy's travel agent. So some of you may see me as a familiar face if you've been to President's Academy. And for several years now, I think my first one was 2009, I have served as the GCC banquet seating planner. So if you don't know what that is our Saturday night banquet is when everybody comes in to join us for dinner, and we have 1,100 plus people to seat. And I am the lucky one that gets to play musical chairs and seat you with your friends or with new friends. And I do that all before you arrive at Grand Chapter Congress. So that's my little claim to fame, my little pet hobby that I truly enjoy doing. People think I'm crazy for that, but that's the planner in me. And so, yeah, so that is where I stand in the fraternity. So tonight we are going to talk about planning events, and we have a few goals and objectives for this evening. First off, we're going to discover the importance of implementing committees and event strategy tools. Then we will evaluate how combining events can increase your chapter's productivity. And finally, we will discuss what challenges your chapters face when planning events, whether they be in person or virtual, and how you overcome them. So we have a few things to talk about tonight. So first off, I did set up a Slido. So if you could either scan this QR code or go to slido.com and enter the participant code, I will share that with you, and we'll get started with our first question. And let me set that up for you. And that is, how much experience do you have planning events for your chapter? So I'm just going to go ahead and answer this as well so we can see the results come in. But if everyone else can answer the question. Oh, we've got a whole mixture of people. We've got new people. We have people that have executed some events. Come on, I know there's more of you. Do you need the Slido code up again, just in case? So you can see that. 547324. There we go. Thank you. All right, we have some newbies. Oh, excellent. You guys are going to learn a lot here tonight. So I'm really excited for you, and I'm glad to share my tips with you. So before I forget, I am happy to share my presentation as well as my tool guide with you. So at the end, I'll have my email address up there that you can email me or just contact Shanda, and we can send that out to you as well. So it looks like we have a lot of new people here planning with us. So that's what I'll concentrate on for you guys. Let's talk about event strategy and how you start planning your events. And here are some things that I picked out from planning events. This isn't the end all be all to planning, but this will certainly help you get in the right direction. And then you'll start adding different components of planning your event. So the first one is the 5 W's of event planning. All right, so every event has a well-executed plan, whether it's a community service event, a professional event, alumni social, or a community service activity. Each one of these is an event. Even your chapter meeting is an event, right? So have you ever sat down with your committee and say, where do we start? How do we bring this event to fruition, right? Well, here are some tips for you to get started. And the first, of course, is the 5 W's. And I'm going to bring up my 5 W's sheet and share this with you. Oops. Of course, there we go. And you should all be able to see this now. This should look familiar. If you've written a story in grade school or high school, or if you take a marketing class and you know about the 5 W's, we see everybody talking about the 5 W's. Well, it does relate to event planning as well. And here is how. So you have your why, what, where, when, and who. Why? Why is this event taking place? For what reason? Are we bringing alumni together with our chapter? Are we doing a fundraiser to raise funds for a specific activity? Or are you having a community service event? What is your why? And you move on to your what. What type of event will this be? And what type of event will best promote our why? Is it going to be a professional event and you want to do a tour of the Amazon facility, fulfillment facility up the street? Is it going to be a community service event where you donate blankets and animal pet toys to a close by animal shelter? What type of event will best promote your why? And where is the best location for this event? And are there options for where it can be held? And this is very important, especially in this day and age. We are always trying to figure out and pivot. I really hate that word, but pivot. Every meeting planner does not like the word pivot. But we have to pivot and figure out what works best for the here and now, right? For the last 18 months, we've been going through a global pandemic that has changed things, changed how we do business. So you always want to figure out what the best location is, and if there's a suitable option, a plan B for it. When should this be held? And is it time sensitive? Those types of things, those types of things are really important, especially when it's, if it's a tour or if it's an event at a specific venue that you're contracting. If you can't have it when you want it, can you postpone it? Will they let you have the space next semester, right? So when will this event be held, and is it time sensitive? And who will benefit? And what do you want, and who do you want to attend this event? Will it be just your chapter members? Will it be your whole student body, the whole school community? Will it be the whole local community, or will it be other chapters and other folks within your region? Will it be alumni folks? Those are your 5 W's, the why, what, where, when, and who. And we'll talk a little bit more when we talk about contingency planning. I already touched on some of that, but this will come up again. getting back to this, committee roles and dividing and conquering. And what is important about this? And I'm going to share this again with you. Many leaders and event planners tend to be the do-it-all person, right? It's kind of who I am, the do-it-all. However, one person cannot do it alone. They can certainly take the event lead role, but other areas of planning can fall upon the committee. So it is optimum to have a committee in place. But what if you have a very small chapter and you don't have a huge committee? It's okay. Here's a sample of a committee, how you can divide the roles. You may have fewer people on your committee, you may have more. And this is only just a guide to help you divide and conquer. So what we're looking at here is the event lead, and that's usually a chapter leader or yourself, someone who oversees the whole planning process and maintains the timelines and the checklists and the event budget, and who leads the committee meetings, the check-ins, to support and someone who always supports all their committee members with the tasks. It's not just about signing them, but it's also about supporting them. Then we have all these other roles. Now, like I said before, you might not have 7 people to fulfill your committee. You might just have 4. So maybe the presentation speaker liaison also does the logistics, or the registration person also does the marketing and promotion. This is just a guide. This is how you can break down the different tasks of your event and separate the roles, so you are not doing all of it. That is the goal here. You want to divide and conquer. Now, I talk a lot about checklists and timelines, and they're some of my favorite things in the world. I have checklists here on my desk. I have separate notebooks for projects and different events that I have going on. I love checklists. And the difference between a checklist and a timeline, well, there's a distinct difference. A checklist is a passive list. It's where tasks may have an end goal, but they are done over a certain amount of time. They may not have an exact deadline, and this can help during your planning process. So I've identified different tasks in a sample activity here, or a sample event here. And what I like to do is say, okay, yes, my goals and objectives, this could be done in one shot. So I can mark 100% done in this. However, confirming my speaker may take some time. Yes, I've identified the speaker, but I haven't gotten in touch with them. Oh, I've gotten in touch with them and we're working on something and trying to specify a date. And so this completion really does help just give you an idea of where you are in your planning process. So when you have those check-in meetings with your committee members and your presentation or speaker liaison says, yes, I'm about 50% done, the event lead or yourself can say, okay, how can I help you get to 100%? Where do you need help? So those are the types of things and questions we need to ask our committee people in order to support them, right? Timelines kind of looks almost the same, but it has an actual deadline. Now, some people might say, well, aren't they the same thing? They could be the same thing and they could be in the same list. But like, once again, a checklist is passive. It might not have an exact deadline. Can they be rolled into one? Of course. And you could share it all. Can a timeline activity be on a checklist? Absolutely. But I like just to break it down because this gives me a better viewpoint of what needs to be done and when, as far as the timeline. And these are usually given by, say, other stakeholders. So like, for instance, provide your final guarantee numbers for your venue, food and beverage. And that's going to be a hard deadline. It's usually 72 hours before your event starts. And I know that that needs to be there. So that for me is, a hard deadline. And these happen in progression. Checklists might not happen in progression. Checklists, I can jump from doing my budget and then establishing my branding, but it doesn't have to happen in order, right? For most of the timeline, it does need to happen in order. So that just gives you an idea. This is just, like I said, this is just a sample. And this is nothing set in stone, and this is not in the event Bible, but this is how I like to use it. So hopefully you can get some points from this too. And the last bit of helpful tools I'm going to recommend is your local, state, and federal resources. I'm just gonna get rid of this here. Use your resources, especially in today's day and age. It's important to make sure you're keeping it within the fraternity, university, local, town, state, and federal guidelines. We will talk more about contingency planning in a second, and this is where using these resources is very important. I have relied so much on websites like the CDC and my state, or where my event is taking place, their state websites, to see what their regulations are, what their mandates or what their guidelines are. So it's always very important to be checking back with those and keeping up to date. And contingency planning. Now, I think we've learned over the last 18 months that contingency planning is now more than ever, is important, so important now more than ever. When you're going over your 5 W's, be sure to keep in mind and discuss what risks are involved. Have a plan A, B, C, and even D in place. Shanda can speak to this after Grand Chapter Congress. They handled that extremely well, but they did have, a plan A, a plan B in place, and did need to go to other plans. So write them down, communicate them, and discuss them often. Communicate them with your committee members and your stakeholders, and discuss them. They could change. This will also help you reimagine how you can make your events more accessible. For instance, if you are planning that tour to the Amazon facility, you may find out that they're no longer letting guests come through anymore. How do you reimagine that event? Do you just cancel it? Or do you say, okay, well, can you take us through a virtual tour? They might even already have one available that they can share with you. Can you talk to us about that? So always have different plans in place, and really think about how you can reimagine or rethink how your events can still take place during, even with all the guidelines that are in place and restrictions and everything. And revisit the plan, because it can change daily, as we're seeing. Earlier, I said I'm a travel agent, and I've been watching the cruise industry, and their guidelines literally change daily. And so you just have to be up to date with everything that you come in contact with. So communicate, assess and prioritize the risk, write the plans down, and just revisit them. And that is the best advice I can give you right now for contingency planning. We're going to go back to Slido, and let me see if I can get this here. I'm going to end this one. And let's talk about your events, your chapter events. How many days a week are you devoted to chapter activities? And I'm just going to pick one here. I'm just going to say every day for right now so we can see. All right. We have a good combination. Mostly 2 days. Good. Let more people vote here. Excellent. If you didn't see the scan, it's right there. just in case some of you. It's at slido.com and the participant code is 547324. A few more people to participate. Most people, this is actually surprising to me. You have no more than 2 days devoted to your chapter activities. That's actually excellent. That means great time management. Is that what we're going to see here? All right, so let's take a look at this and how this, what this means. So having productive activities or events. As a chapter, you have goals and expectations, right? That you require a certain number of activities to take place. And it can be a lot. You're balancing your time between your classes, your work schedule, your chapter responsibilities, and sometimes it can be too much. There are some people that were saying it's like every day or, 3 to 4 times, and even that can be a lot. But this is where time management is really crucial. And as leaders in your chapter, this is where you can maximize your chapter's productivity. And I just want to take a look at it one more time, see if we got any more. So the majority of you are only no more than 2 days a week, which I think is great because that means you have great time management. Some of you are within 3 to 4 days, 5 to 6 days. And that is still good too. That doesn't mean that you're not productive or using your time wisely, but how can we even make these events even more productive? Are you having a professional activity and also partnering it with a community service? How would that work? What does that look like? Do you have a food drive where you have people bring in canned goods as an entry fee, and in the beginning of the session you have somebody from the food bank talk about what they do? Or is your professional activity learning more about how a food bank runs and what it does? Is your speaker an alumni of your chapter or an alum of the fraternity elsewhere? Or are you partnering with another chapter to do more events? I know I'm not going to talk much about CMP because that's not my wheelhouse. It's been a while since I've been in a chapter, so I did not have the luck of participating in the CMP, but I know there are different ways, and just be careful that you understand how you get your events to qualify for multi-tier events. I will put that out to you. I read a little bit about it, but I don't want to be the expert on it. But I just want to point out that you should really make sure that even though you're having a productive event, that you make it count in the right way, right? So I want to get into this a little bit further, and I would like to do some breakouts. And we're going to talk about combining events. Some of you may have some great ideas out there on how you partnered a professional with a community service or an alumni activity with a fundraiser. Let's discuss these types of what you've successfully combined, or brainstorm new ideas to share with the group. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up into teams of, let's see what we got here. Let's do teams of 3 for right now, or let's do teams of 4. So we'll have 3 different teams. So teams of 4, we have 14, but I think that includes you and me, Shanda, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think let's do 3 breakout rooms. I think that should work because we
perfect. And then we'll have 4 people, and we'll go into these breakout rooms for about 6 minutes, but identify somebody to share your ideas with the group when we come back. All right, so go ahead and enjoy.
And if anyone needs help getting to your breakout room, just let me know.
Well, actually, I didn't want to share yet.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We'll get started again in just a second here.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. Got it, so I'm facing you all. So I would love to hear what you all have to share. So if the representative from room 1, I don't know if you knew which room you were in, but from room 1 would like to share what they have learned, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Karen, I would speak for you if you want me to, but I think
Sure, go ahead, Dakota, you got it.
I think she did great when speaking on behalf of the Georgia Tech, how the chapter there at the school is reaching out to alumni to speak for professional events, but now they're even joining in with the alumni chapter in Atlanta for mixed events as well for Make a Difference Day. And I think that that's such a great initiative, Karen. So kudos.
Well, I'll let you know how it goes. We only started doing this today, so because I finally got in touch with them. So yeah, I'll let y'all know. Thank you.
That is awesome. Great, Karen. Thank you, Dakota. And from room 2, do we have somebody representing from room 2?
I think, was that us, Maria? I don't remember.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we talked about how it has been difficult, especially with fundraisers during this time, and your ideas about combining events together, such as community service and professional, would be good. Especially anything with restaurants, that's always a good option. We spoke about, Ilana mentioned they may have a cook-off for tailgating or games, so that also sounds good. And Bailey was working with her chapter on different events such as the candy sale. So I think a lot of good ideas.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing, Christina. And from room 3.
So I'll go ahead and chat. We were a bit of a younger crew. So what we really talked about was ways in which you can identify how to combine events. And so one thing that we chatted about was reviewing the CMP and seeing out further than outside of accredited chapter, obviously. So looking further than accredited chapter. And then also looking into what awards you might be able to receive when it's time to apply for awards, and using that as a guide on how to produce events. So kind of working a little bit backwards in that sense. And so hopefully we'll connect and stay connected and try to do some events together because we are in different places. But that could be, an opportunity for us. But we really talked about how to strategize, and obviously sticking with the lowest hanging fruit, as was mentioned before, in terms of professional activity, community service, and kind of combining those things that make sense. We were definitely the work smarter, not harder crew. So we're all for combining events that make it easy and make sense.
Absolutely. And I think that was great. I think everybody is for the work smarter, not harder. I surely wish that I had that when I was in college, because I just remember like, okay, Monday's a professional activity. We got that. All right. Tuesday's our fundraiser. All right. Wednesday is our community service event. And it just got like a little crazy. But so I love how you guys are already figuring out how to work smarter and not harder. So that is great. That's exactly what I wanted you to come out with from this activity. Are there any other folks that want to share that maybe something didn't get shared or something you thought of afterwards? I'll give you that opportunity right now before we close up combining events. Okay, well, we will move on. We're going to do one more Slido activity. But this is more of a group discussion, and we're going to do it right here. Just because we've experienced over the last 2 years a lot of, moving around and trying to, as I said before, pivoting and new ways of how we do businesses. And I want to hear from you what challenges you've faced and overcome as a chapter during the pandemic, or if you are a DD, what your chapter has faced and or what they are currently facing, and if you need help figuring out how to overcome that, because there could be some folks that experience the same thing and have overcome that. So let's, before we do that, actually, I said we were going to do the Slido, right? So I do want to do that because this one's kind of a fun one. So if you go over to the Slido, using one word, how would you describe what it's like to plan events for your chapter? And you can enter multiple times. So is it fun? Is it, I like that. Is it scary? I'm going to add another response. Is it, is it, I just had the word and then scary lost me. Is it intimidating? Intimidating, if I can spell right. So we're coming up with a lot of words here. Creative, concerning, exciting, spontaneous. Spontaneous surely is a word here. And you can repeat some of these words. If somebody has the same idea, put it in there, because then it's a word bubble. How big does that word get? Good. A lot of you are still saying fun. I'm glad to hear that. Nerve-wracking, absent, exciting. Collaboration. Collaboration is a key one. And I hope one of the things you get out of this is that you can collaborate together to do some of your events. One idea that I heard that I thought was excellent was that a chapter did an event and partnered with another chapter to co-host it. And so it was open to, multiple chapters to have engaging, energetic, bonding. These are great. City engagement. Ooh, I like that one. Cool. Fraternal spirit. Excellent. Scary's popping up again. I get it. I mean, trust me, I have dealing with contracts these days. And if anybody would like some assistance with contracts, I'm available to give it a word or two, but those are scary. Bonding. I like it. That's excellent, folks. So let's talk a little bit more about what you've experienced and how you've overcome these challenges. And I invite you to unmute yourself and go ahead and share. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can share in the chat. Or if somebody wants to share their experience in having to cancel an event because of the pandemic and how that went. I have another question for you. How is it getting your chapter members to participate in these events in the virtual setting? Has it been challenging? Can we talk about that a little bit?
I think the word I would use is Zoom burnout. Especially as students being online for months and months, Zoom has, when you think of Zoom, I think of classes and stress. And so trying to change the idea to Zoom being, our brotherhood aspect and chapter and fun things has been the biggest challenge, is changing that mindset when we miss each other and we want to be in person.
Agree full-heartedly. But there's, different ways. Maybe it's not actually conducting business when you get on the Zoom meeting. Maybe it's playing a game. It's playing some trivia, just to, playing some bingo, or one thing we did with my family, and you could do this with your chapter, is kind of like a scavenger hunt, and somebody has a list of items. It doesn't have to be all business. Just getting together just to do something fun and silly. I mean, I've been doing it with some of my alumni friends. We've been getting together on a random night and just talking about anything. Any other alumni find themselves doing that in an unstructured way?
Yep, I definitely do that. But honestly, I work remote, so there's me getting Zoom burnout. It's like an everyday thing, but I do see the benefit in connecting, because honestly, without it, there wouldn't be much human interaction. So I guess at this point, it's more so, well, let me take this human interaction the way that I can get it, as opposed to not, like at all. So, I mean, I have a 3-year-old, so I mean, that conversation can get fun until I don't understand anymore. But after that, being on Zoom and then just looking for ways to reconnect, we utilize, and I'm involved in other organizations from an alumni standpoint, we utilize it for fun. And so there's a little bit more balance when it comes to Zoom, is going to do the things for fun as opposed to not. And then one thing that always works well, and I encourage my chapter to do this, especially, well, it's a rule when I'm on the call, but I want cameras on because we're people and that's how we communicate with faces. And so that also allows people to engage no matter what you look like. I mean, with my chapter, we're very comfortable, or at least I probably force it, oops. But like, we get very comfortable with one another, and seeing faces does help people connect in a different way than just seeing a name or a picture and whatnot. So that's my 2 cents there.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Zoom has become my social interaction, especially when I have an 11-year-old and playing games can, get old. But I hear if I just want to, talk with my other mom friends, and we get on Zoom, and for us, it's a social thing. And you do have to turn it around to that. It doesn't have to, like I said, it doesn't have to all be business. How have you all been dealing with making sure that you get the activities in? Some of you can do in person, which is fabulous. How is it getting people out to it? Have you had challenges getting people to in-person events now that you've been started back, or just by a show of hands, who's already back at their universities and starting to do events? 1, 2, okay, 3, excellent. Oh, I know what it's like with bedtime. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Yeah, it's, how has it been? Have you been able to get people out to events in person? I'm sure, everybody's anxious, but does everybody have time for it? I'm finding a lot of times that, once we're allowed out, we want to do the fun things first. And, going to a meetup with a bunch of my fellow moms for the home and school meeting isn't going to be, the first thing I run to. It's going to be doing an activity with my family or something. But what I find is that it's funny, because conducting business, I've had this event for a long time where I run our home and school meetings, and I had more attendance when we were on Zoom than I did with the in-person. So that was an interesting dynamic for me in my personal event life. That kind of like turned things around because more people were able to attend because they, one, didn't have to drive their kids back and forth, and two, they could do it from home. They didn't have to go find a sitter or make sure somebody else was home to watch their kids. They could just do it while they were home. So I just find it interesting of how like the dynamic turns is everybody wants to get out there, but then sometimes you're not getting all the people that you anticipated to get. So I think it will take time. And also just dealing with a pandemic, there's so many different variables to in-person events, right? All over the country, you know, and when you try to get people together from all over the country, it's not going to be the same experience for one person who, you know, lives on one coast and another one who lives on the other. They have different lifestyles right now because this pandemic is different for everyone. So yeah, anybody else have anything to share in regards to what challenges you've had with your events before we kind of close up for the night? But I'll also move on to any questions you may have about anything we talked about, whether it be planning or combining events or any tools.
I have a question.
Yes.
Like, how do you get like brothers motivated to help you? And like, there's like a good way to ask them or get them involved?
Oh, you mean for like your committee members?
Yeah, like how do you like recruit people?
How do you recruit people? Honestly, it's all in how you talk to them, and it's not just saying, okay, I need people who want to help. It's about going to that person. If you know they're really good at something, if they're really detail oriented, or if they're really good on social media, you want to go up to them and say, hey, I see that you have these excellent posts on social media. We need help with marketing and promotion. Can you help us? So there you're really just dinging them for something that they're really good at and saying, hey, we could use your help. So that's what I find very useful in recruiting folks. You know, kind of drill it down, or to say, hey, you know, you've been great in helping us out. I was hoping you would be willing to step up and help us, you know, do the registration for this event. Are you willing to do that? It's really about just going to the one-on-one and asking that question directly. You know, if at first doing the call out for volunteers doesn't work.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Does anybody else have any questions? I feel like I'm on like, not Jeopardy. What was that? The pyramid game. Everybody.
Well, great. I think you did a fantastic job of answering questions throughout your presentation, but I suspect, I don't know if you were going to put up a slide or throw it in the chat, your contact info in case.
I do, yes. So let me just put that up here. Just some closing thoughts. You know, the most successful event is the one that achieves your goals and exceeds your expectations. Just take that with you. I've had these little quotes all throughout the presentation. But if you would like to contact me, here's my email address or my LinkedIn. You could also find me on Facebook as well as on the web. And those are all my my work contacts. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me at any time.
Fantastic. Well, Maria, thank you so much for sharing all of this, and congrats again on your book publishing.
Yeah, thank you.
List. I can't wait to get my copy and check it out. But thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. We do have webinars every week on lots of different topics, and we also have Delta Sig University, where all of these presentations are recorded and saved, so you can watch them on your own time also. So I hope to see all of you on a future event and at Lead School coming up on October 16th and lots of other great things. But again, Maria, thank you. And
Thank you.
we will see everybody again, hopefully in person soon. So take care.
I'm hoping. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.